Okay, we're back. Okay, I'm back. Are you guys back? Okay, good. Any questions before we move on? Any questions? So far, so good. You're kind of getting this conceptual understanding of what reliability is. And what you should kind of be asking yourself now, it's pretty crazy that we've been operating all these years without making a single effort to express our level of reliability to our clients, our customers, our patients, wherever they are. I mean, it is a absolute basic requirement of any organization, to transparently reflect to their customers, the clients, their level of reliability. You also, from a managerial point of view, understanding how reliable you are is absolutely critical, because your level of reliability is a reflection of how solid your operations are. Okay, if somebody is not greeted within being 5 minutes, within 5 meters away, that's an issue. If your file is not extracted within 10 minutes, that's an issue. If a consultation is not completed within 30 minutes, that's an issue. If patients are not referred adequately within a specified time, and if you're not able to do that consistently, it really reflects very badly on operations and indirectly on leadership. Okay? So reliability is in effect a proxy measure for leadership effectiveness. Okay? Get that in mind. Okay. So now that you understand what reliability is, I mean, it's essentially is how many times do you get it right in total? Okay? Over the total number of actions. So how many times do you get it right? So let's assume that 99% of the patients are seen within 10 minutes of arrival. Okay, how would we...
Can't see you, Prof.
You can't see me. Where am I, Vic?
I see a J on the screen.
Are you the only one who can't see me?
I can't see you also.
Okay, what are you seeing? Okay, let's have Vic take a look at that. We come back. Vic? Just let us know once you see me again. You still having the issue?
Yes, Prof.
Yeah, maybe let's just reboot and see if that works. Okay, good. So thank God we've got Vic here because I wouldn't have known what to do. Okay, so let's just kind of drill deep. Let's just drill deeper and deeper and deeper. So you kind of know reliability is two things. What's the two things? Hello? What is reliability? It's a function of two things. Functionality plus time. And generally we report that with a certain level of confidence. Okay? That's all, that's a statistical thing. Okay? Essentially, what we're saying is, how many times do we get it right over a time period? That's what it is. And so if we get something right 99 times out of 100 over a fixed time period, we could kind of report it that way. So this is the level of reliability. Do you get this? Reliability 99 over 100. Okay? From a managerial kind of view, what we really report is unreliability. Okay? How unreliable are we? That's what we really want to know. So if reliability is 99 over 100, meaning that we get it right 99 times out of 100, how unreliable are we?
1%.
Yeah, right? Okay, so we're getting it wrong one time out of 100. We can also write that as 1 minus our reliability. So unreliability is 1 minus reliability. Unreliability is equal to 1 minus 99 over 100 in this case. Okay? Now, I want you to kind of understand this and write that down because it's, you know, it's an important foundational concept. Okay. 1 minus 99, this is 1 minus 0.01. That's equal to, we generally will write this as 10, sorry, hello? Okay, so we write this as 10 to the minus 2. That's our unreliability, 10 to the minus 2. Meaning, the board is not visible? Okay, let's just try and focus. You see? Okay, so unreliability is 1 minus reliability. Okay, 1 minus 99 over 100 is 1 minus 0.01. The answer to that we write as an index, 10 to the minus 2. So our unreliability means we get it wrong 1 out of 100 times. The simple way to do it is you look at that index, that's the number of zeros that there is. So that's how we describe unreliability. So if I write 10 to the minus 1, it means I get it wrong 1 in 10. If I write 10 to the minus 2, I get it wrong 1 in 100. If I write 10 to the minus 3, I get it wrong 1 in 1,000. 10 to the minus 4, I get it wrong 1 in 10,000. 10 to the minus 5, I get it wrong 1 in 100,000. 10 to the minus 6, I get it wrong 1 in 1,000,000 times. Do you get that? So this is unreliability. The rate at which we get it wrong, this is how we write it. So if I say the error rate is 10 to the minus 3, What I mean is we get it wrong 1 in 1,000 attempts. Okay? Meaning we get it right 999 times out of 1,000. Is that clear? Yeah. So you've got to actually understand this concept of unreliability, because what we report is unreliability. The irony of the whole thing of high reliability is actually about our unreliability levels, how unreliable we are. Now, 1 to 10 to the minus 1 is kind of approximately 1 sigma. You know what a sigma is? It's a standard deviation. Okay? It's approximately 1 sigma. 10 to the minus 2 is approximately 2 sigmas. 10 to the minus 3, 3 sigmas. 10 to the minus 4, 4 sigmas, 5, and 6. And if you heard the term 6 sigma, have you heard the term 6 sigma? 6 sigma is used as an excellent, it's an approach to reducing defects. Okay? A sigma, what is the symbol? Do you know the symbol? What does the symbol mean? What is a sigma? It is? It looks like a Z. It's actually, it's like this, but that's the symbol for standard deviation. Yes? You can't see the board. Can we just focus that big? So a sigma is the sign for standard deviation. Okay, so 1 defect in 10 is 1 sigma, approximately, 1 standard deviation. 10 to the minus 2 means we make 1 error in 100, approximately 2 standard deviations. 10 to the minus 3, 1 error in 1,000, approximately 3 standard deviations. 10 to the minus 4, 1 error in 10,000, approximately 4 standard deviations. 10 to the minus 5, 1 in 100,000 errors, approximately 5. And 10 to the minus 6, approximately 1 in a million errors, and that's 6 standard deviations. Okay? So the sigma is a sign for standard deviation. You know what's a standard deviation? So if we have, let's assume we measure waiting times. Okay, clients come in, we measure waiting times, and we have 10 clients. Okay, the waiting times are 10, 15, 6. Okay, write this down. Waiting time. You writing this down? Are you writing this down? Hello? Yeah, write this down. Waiting time, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 6 minutes, 8 minutes, 3 minutes, 11 minutes, 5 minutes, 7 minutes, 9 minutes, and 9 minutes. Write those numbers down. So you should have 10 numbers there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You got that? So that's waiting time. The client. Okay. So 10 minutes. Write these numbers down on a piece of paper. 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 6 minutes, 8 minutes, 3 minutes, 11 minutes, 5 minutes, 7, 9, 9. So we stood there with a stopwatch from the time the client came in to the time the client was called into the room. Do you have these numbers written down? Yes. Now do me a favor. Just go to Google and say calculate standard deviation. Go to Google, say calculate standard deviation. And it's going to bring you up a link where you can type in these numbers and press, it'll give you a standard deviation. Vic, can you do that as well, please? This is how easy it is. This is all the statistics I need for you to know. So 10, 15, 6, 8, 3, 11, 5, 7, 9, 9. This is the time these 10 clients waited. We're now calculating their standard deviation for that. You got it?
So it's just going to the
Wait.
calculator.
Cross matches of the numbers again.
10, 10, 15, 6, 8, 3, 11, 5, 7,
Number after 6.
8.
Oh, 8, 3, 11, 5,
7
7, 9, 9.
and 9.
Thank you.
What's happening? You can't find the link, or you can also use the scientific calculator if you got, but you should just put up a link. Sorry?
3.19530 9.
3.11. Okay, let's make it 3.2. Does it? And you will get plus minus there, okay? Anybody else get anything else?
I got 3.368.
You should be getting the same thing. 3.36. What do you get, Vic?
3.37.
3.36, 3.37, 3.36,
3.36,
3.36, that's 3.7,
yeah.
3.37. Okay, is that what you guys are getting? Yeah. You got the numbers in. Do you see the numbers are correct? 10, 15, 6, 8, 3, 11, 5, 7, 9. And then that gives you, sorry? You can't see the screen. Okay, Vic will share that screen with you.
It is shared with them at the moment. I think maybe it's too small for them.
Can you see that now? Okay, so just scroll down, Vic, so they can see the numbers where you put in. So that you can see Vic put in the scores there on your left-hand side, and you automatically just press at the bottom. You press calculate, and it gets a 3.37. Did you get that? So it's pretty easy, but I want you to practice this. In fact, this kind of link you should save. Save the link, because from now on, there's going to be a whole lot of standard deviations in your life. Okay? It's sorry?
I have a question.
Yes.
I see what I've done when I did the calculation is I looked at population. Why does it differ from population and sample?
Sample is just a small number. Population is the whole, is everything, every single data.
Okay, so it's going to make a difference in the calculation as well because the 3.19
Yeah.
was from
Yeah.
population, whereas 3.36 is sample.
Right. Have you got that?
Yes, bro.
Okay, so 1 sigma is going to be 3.37. So when we map, so bear this in mind, okay, keep those numbers in there. So when I say 1 sigma, 2 sigma, 3 sigma, I'm talking about the standard deviation. That's what I'm talking about. Okay, we have all of these events happening, and this is the standard deviation. Now, what I've given you here, 1 in a million is approximately 6 standard deviations. 3 above and 3 below the median. Okay, when you did that, what was the median score you got, Vic?
Which one?
For this, what's the median, the average?
Those.
You closed it. Okay, but you'll get that. But bear this in mind. So, sorry?
It's 8.3.
8.3. Okay, good. 8.3 is the mean. 3.37. Okay. So we generally use unreliability, which was 1 minus reliability. Reliability is 99 over 100. You get it right 99 out of 100 times, or you get it wrong 1 out of 10 times. If you're getting it wrong 1 out of 100 times, you will write it as 10 to the minus 2. If you're getting it wrong 1 out of 10 times, it's 10 to the minus 1. If you're getting it wrong 1 out of 1,000 times, it's 10 to the minus 3. 1 out of 10,000, 10 to the minus 4. 1 out of 100,000, 10 to the minus 1 out of 1,000,000 times, 10 to the minus 6. Write this down and write the approximate sigmas next to it. So you're going to have these 2, 4, 6 columns, 3 rows. This is unreliability. Okay? This is the error rate, and that's the approximate sigma. So the reliability, what's the reliability of the first one? What's the reliability of the first one? How reliable is this? If you're getting it wrong 1 out of 10 times, how many times are you getting it right?
99 times.
Eyeball. 1 out of 10, you're getting it wrong 1 out of 10. How many times are you getting it right? 9.9. If you're getting it wrong 2 out of 100, how many times, or 1 out of 100, how many times are you getting it right? 0.99. So it's the same thing. Okay? So this is reliability. 0.9, 0.99, 0.999, 0.9999, 0.99999, 0.999999. Okay? So that's reliability. That's the times you're getting it right. You're getting it right here, 999,999 times right. You're getting it wrong once. We say 10 to the minus 6. Okay? Approximately 6 sigmas. Keep that because that's your kind of go-to chart when it comes to unreliability and how you talk about it and how you report it. Okay? Did you get this? Okay, and I think it's also in one of your readings. So now if I say, if we talk about high reliability, we're actually talking about performing at a level where your unreliability rate is extremely low. Where do you think here that we operate on average? Where do you think we operate generally in everything we do? How many times do we get it wrong? Wrong meanings in this context that we don't see patients, clients within 8.3 minutes. How many times do you think we don't, on average, human nature? In anything we do, we never get everything right all the time. So humans operate at what error rate? From here, 10 to the minus 1, 2, 3, 4. What do you think? That if you make a cup of coffee, what's your average spill rate? If you drink a bottle of water, how many times is this thing going to drop onto your shirt?
10 to the minus 1.
That's 1 out of 10? 1 out of 100, okay. Anybody else? So 1 out of 10 would probably be a child. They'll spill it 1 out of 10. But on average, adults operate at 10 to the minus 3. Okay, so humans generally operate at an error rate of 10 to the minus 3, meaning that, what does that mean? How unreliable is that? Ten to the minus 3, how unreliable is that? Come on guys, it's on the board.
It's 1 in every 1,000.
Yes, good. 10 to the minus 3, there's it here, means the error rate, unreliable, 1 over 1,000. Reliability is 0.999. We get that right 999 times out of 1,000. 1 out of 1,000 we're going to spill. That's how we normally operate. Okay? High reliability is a specific, unique approach to doing things focused on reducing that unreliability rate to 10 to the minus 6. You get that? So what does 10 to the minus 6 mean? What unreliability rate is permissible in a high reliability organization? 1 out of a million, exactly. So to classify yourself as a high reliability organization, you have to operate at an unreliability rate of 10 to the minus 6, meaning you only deviate once in a million attempts. That's pretty tough going. So if your mean wait time is 8.3, you can only deviate from that once in a million patient visits. That's what it means. It means for you to classify yourself as a high reliability individual, for every million bottles of water you drink, you're allowed to
Can you just ask me if they can hear you?
let it drip once. Can you hear me? Guys, can you hear? Okay. So do you get this concept of high reliability now? Right. So generally, organizations, people, etc., operate at an unreliability level of 10 to the minus 3. meaning that they deviate from normal. They get things wrong once in 1,000 attempts. So if I drink 1,000 bottles of water on average, I'll spill this water on myself once. Okay? That's just normal. Organizations generally operate so they have defective products, 1 in 1,000. They run late on deliveries, 1 in 1,000, etc. But some operate at 10 to the minus 1, where the error rate is 1 in 10. Of course, that's really bad. Some operate at 10 to the minus 2, means they make an error every 100 attempts. Okay? The average people function at 10 to the minus 3. That's for every 1,000 attempts, we get it wrong once. Okay? High reliability organizations only accept error rates of 10 to the minus 6, meaning that they only accept failure at a rate of 1 in a million. Okay? So, in the context of social services, it is, if we had to go back to that map, it is the number of times that somebody is greeted when they are 5 meters away. So if 1 million clients come in, you're only allowed to get that wrong once. If your time to create a file is 10 minutes, you're only allowed to deviate from that 1 in a million times. Okay? This is what high reliability means. It means you're allowed to deviate 1 in a million times, approximately 6 sigmas, 6 standard deviations. So this whole concept of 6 sigma is to reduce your defect rate to less than 1 in a million. Now a defect is the same thing as not getting something right. Whether it's not greeting the client, whether it's not completing the COVID screening in time, whether it's not completing the COVID screening form in time, whether the security guy doesn't greet you in time, whether the supervisor's intake report, supervisor's note is not completed within a specified time. Those are defects. Those are defects because they're not happening, maybe in this case, at a median time of 8 minutes or whatever it is. If it's not happening, then it's a defect. Okay? So you can see very clearly this concept of high reliability is essentially revolving around reducing the defect rate to less than 1 in a million attempts. So for every million clients you see, you can only get it wrong once. That's what high reliability organizations strive for. Okay? Yes, go ahead.
I don't know, I might be going out a bit, but I'm thinking of the average time.
Of the
screening.
screening.
Yeah. I want to give an example.
Right.
Remember, we are with different abilities or capabilities.
Right.
So I'm just thinking, maybe now you have got a line of older people who do things slowly. It means it will also affect your time.
Yes.
I don't know if we can also have something relating to that because it might also tempt the employee to provide a service that is not of good quality, trying to beat the average waiting time.
Yeah. Well, that this is the whole point about excellence and reliability, isn't it? Because it's an operational issue. So if somebody is taking too long to complete an assessment, we need to assess and determine why that is the case. You're right. They are going to skew the numbers. They're going to skew the numbers, but we should be able to pinpoint who exactly is skewing it and then work to understand why that person is taking longer than normal. So this is the point of collecting all of this, and we're going to go into all of that. Because, you know, this average of 8.3, that's the average time, wait time. But you can see some clients waited 3 minutes, some clients waited 11 minutes. Now, having an average of 8.3 does not help us from a managerial point of view, because some waited 3, some waited 15. There's a very big variation there. And understanding what is the cause of that variation is absolutely critical, okay? Because high reliability comes from reducing variation. That's the only way you reduce the error rate to 1 in a million, is to reduce the variation. So actually identifying an individual that might be the special cause of the low is a useful managerial data point, because you can then work with this person to understand what the issue is. Quality and time are not always correlated. I mean, you can do high quality work and still do it fast. That's exactly what we should be doing. Bear in mind, there's a cost attached to time. In the public sector, we pay for time, especially with professionals. You get a salary, we are buying your time, and we want you to use that time efficiently. So if you're performing a task that takes 3 times the average time, meaning you're getting overpaid 3 times to do the same thing that somebody else does. So that's an issue. Okay? We'll come back to all of these subtleties, etc., because they're important managerial questions for us to address. Okay? Any other questions? So this is a important kind of concept, you know, high reliability, kind of efficient management is driven by data. It's driven by collecting data, mapping it, understanding what our error rate is. And high reliability means aspiring to an error rate of 1 in a million. Now you can imagine the implications that this holds for the way we operate an organization, okay? Because this is what we have to operate in. Now, it's important. So before I move on, does anybody have any questions about what we just put on here? Any questions? Are you guys okay? Can I move on? Which calculation you want?
The one where we calculate
the standard deviation.
the deviation.
Okay, just Google calculate standard deviation. Are you on your phone or your computer? Open up another tab, calculate standard deviation, and you should see 1 or 2 links coming up. Click a link, it will say, it'll prompt you to type in these numbers as Vic just did. And then it will say, some of them will ask you to choose sample or population, choose sample, and then choose calculate. It will calculate it for you automatically. I mean, you can calculate this manually, but there's no point in doing it. We can do it in 10 minutes. Or if you have a calculator, or you can probably use your phone as well, I'm not sure, to try and calculate it. But Vic, just pull up that again. Okay, I'm going to get Vic to share the screen and run through the calculation again so you can see it. Okay, let's go. Because this is important. You're going to start collecting a lot of data. You're going to have to be able to feed this in, calculate the mean, and calculate the standard deviation. Share the screen. So, which website are you on here?
I'll share to the...
Yes. So Vic will share the link in the chat room. And this is just one link. There are several. Okay, there are several that you can use, but you can just follow Vic on your screen. Follow it on your screen. He's posting the link. Okay, the link is posted. Now Vic is going there. That's what should come up when you click. It says add the scores in, so you're putting in all those numbers I gave you. 10, 15, 6, 8, 3, 11, 5, 7, 9, 9. Did you get that? Okay. Sample and then calculate. Okay, so you can see there in your right hand corner you got n is 10. That's the number of numbers. I gave you 10 numbers. The mean or the average is 8.3 and the standard deviation is 3.37. Okay, so it's pretty simple to do. If you keep this link, you can use this one. Okay, does anybody have any questions?
Prof, does this mean that if the rate is 3.368 or 3.4, then the unreliability is 1 in 1,000?
Sorry? No, this is standard deviation. It's got nothing to do with unreliability. Unreliability is just the number of defects per 1,000 or per 100.
Okay, thank you.
We'll come back. So just keep these 10 numbers, keep the mean, and keep the standard deviation aside. Okay, so you can see if you've got a set of numbers, it's pretty easy to arrive at the standard deviation. You get that? Anybody have any questions? This might be kind of conceptually new for you, so if you have any uncertainty about what's happening, let me clarify it with you now. Do you have any issues? Hello? Are you guys comfortable with this? Are you comfortable with reliability, unreliability, the error rates? And then how to calculate standard deviation? Are you comfortable with that? Okay, and bear in mind, high reliability organizations operate here. They operate here, 10 to the minus 6, okay? This is very important. High reliability operations operate at 10 to the minus 6, meaning the permissible error rate is 1 in a million, meaning that they have to get it right 999,999 times out of a million. They have to get it right. Okay? No defects allowed. And the defect generally is the term used for getting something wrong. Whether it's not greeting somebody, whether it's not extracting the correct file, whether it's not filling in the correct file, whatever it is. Okay? That's a defect. Okay? So if based on last week, I told you, when do you acknowledge somebody? When do you acknowledge a client? For those of you who are on the last module. When is the first time you acknowledge a client? Come on, guys.
At 10 meters, you need to make eye contact. 5 meters, you need to start.
Good. At 10 meters, eye contact. At 5 minutes, at 5, you start a conversation. So if you do not make eye contact at 10 meters, that's a defect. So if you see for every million clients that you see, we only allow you to do that or not to do that once. So you can see operating as a high reliability organization is pretty onerous. It's very difficult. It means that we have to have systems and processes in place that we function at almost 100% of capacity and capability. That operationally we are sound. That we pick up errors, that we pick up near misses, and we relentlessly address them and we relentlessly improve. That's what high reliability organizations do. Now, it has its genesis, and we're going to come back to this case, it has its genesis in the airline industry, okay? And one of the reasons it was embraced in the airline industry, in fact, because of the error rate of the airline industry being so high. So if you looked at pre-1970s or pre-1980, the inefficiency of the airline industry was extremely high. It was actually a very, very unsafe mode of transport with several deaths, several crashes, etc., etc. So some of us may not even recall that because of our ages. And for those of us who are old enough to recall it, you know, we may not have had the access to that information because of, you know, of the way we received news way back in the 70s or before. So today, if there's a crash, you hear about it instantaneously. I can tell you in the 70s or 60s, if there was a crash, you most likely never heard of it, or you heard about it 6 months later, whatever it was. So the airline industry was extremely unsafe. And what they did is, after this case that you're going to watch, we'll probably do it. What's the time now, Vic? 11:23. 11:23. So we'll probably do it when we come back from lunch. The original case that led to the genesis of this movement called high reliability. Okay, and is essentially what could the airline industry do to reduce that defect rate? Okay, so it started predominantly as an approach to improve safety and efficiency and productivity in the airline industry, safety being number one. And then it worked so well that people kind of studied this whole phenomenon. I mean, and you know today the adage is they're actually safer today taking a flight than driving a car. Okay? And that comes from this philosophy of reducing the defect rate, improving safety of the airline industry. So we kind of studied this airline industry over decades and so, well, what is it that they do? What did they implement? What did they do that almost eliminated this defect rate? And we've created this thing called high reliability. It is, well, these organizations are characterized by these 6 or 7 things. They do really well, and when they do it well, they operate at 10 to the minus 6 unreliability rate. In fact, they only go wrong 1 in a million or even less. Okay, so if you look at minutes flown or hours flown, they'll only have 1 incident or less per million hours flown. Okay, now other industries have embraced that. Other high-risk industries, so like the nuclear power plants or, you know, other major industries have embraced high reliability, especially when industries are complex and are riddled with issues of defect, especially safety, where if you get something wrong, patients die. Now, in social services, this may well be the case, that if you do get something wrong, the client may suffer very adversely, you know, the worst case being death, but of course it could be any other thing. In the airline industry, it's obvious that any defect could very easily result in passenger deaths. In healthcare, particularly, it's a concept that I'm now introducing into healthcare, because healthcare is a defect-riddled sector. And actually, I think you should be grateful you're in social services and not in healthcare, because the error rate in healthcare is frighteningly high. In healthcare, the defect rate is anywhere from 10 to the minus 1 to 10 to the minus 6. There are some things that they get wrong with every 10 patients. There's some things they get wrong every 100 patients. Some things they get wrong every 1,000 patients. Okay? Now, to think that just in the US alone, that the third leading cause of death in the US is medical error. Now, just think about this. The first cause is cardiac disease. People die of heart attacks, etc. That's kind of global. The second cause is cancer. The third cause is medical error. Okay? So medical error means defects. Medical defects in the operations and the care delivery. Patients come to you for care, we kill them. So healthcare is a ripe environment for adopting this high reliability approach, because the outcome of high reliability approach is you reduce that error rate to less than 1 in a million, which is kind of what you want to do. Now, a lot of the readings I sent you are health-related readings, but they're kind of closest. You will never hear about high reliability in the context of social services because it doesn't exist. Now, frankly, you are the first cohort across the world of social services employees who are getting exposed to the concept of high reliability. So it also offers you an opportunity to embrace it as a profession, to embrace it as a discipline, to embrace it as a sector, to improve efficiency and reliability of the way you do things. We're getting it done in healthcare, we're trying to push it into public services, into police, into social development. So you're one of the first people to actually get that. And the whole purpose of this is that we can do a better job at what we do, a better service. As I said, the ultimate purpose is to reduce defect rate. Sometimes defect rate end in patients dying or people dying. Sometimes defects result in patients or in clients getting an adverse experience, in staff getting an adverse experience, in retention issues, etc. So you can manifest in different ways, okay? and what I want to do is kind of flesh out with you, so what are these things so characteristic of high reliability organizations that we can actually embrace, okay? So remember, it has its genesis in other industries. The ultimate effect is when other industries change operations to behave in a specific way, their defect rate drops. They then start working at an unreliability rate of better than 10 to the minus 6, which means the minimum number of errors they make is 1 in a million. Okay, so bear that in mind. Extremely important. There's a lot of use cases from other industries. So before we move on and break for lunch and come back and do the case, I'm assuming you have written all of this down. Okay, if you didn't, it's in some of the readings that I gave you. Okay? So let's just look at those numbers that I gave you, these calculations that we did. And as I said, today really and tomorrow is kind of high reliability, and by definition, high reliability has got a quantitative component to it. It is data-driven. The bulk of that data management is kind of what you already did. You've got 10 data points. I got you to calculate the mean and standard deviation. So let's say this is the real case where we're now aspiring for high reliability. One of the first things we did is measure the waiting time for people to see a social worker. So this could be, they're done with the COVID screening, they then go into a waiting room and they're waiting for their social worker screening. These are the 10 patients, they're all waiting at different times. So what we actually have to do, so we can see the range here is from 3 to 15. So we can graph that. Okay, so if we take, let's see. Okay, we put that there. So we can have 8. We can have 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay? It's not a very clear, but can you see that? Or does Vicky, we have to just get this. Can you see this graph that I'm drawing? Okay, so this is so I've got times written here. 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And I kind of took that from the range of here of 3 minutes to 15. Okay? Now what I have to do is plot these 10 numbers on the graph. Patient 1 took 10 minutes. Okay, so patient 1 took 10 minutes. We plot patient 1 there. Patient 2 took 15 minutes. We plot patient 2 there. Can you see? Patient 3 took 6 minutes. I'm going to plot patient 3, 6. Patient 4 took 8 minutes. I'm going to plot patient 4 there. Patient 5 took 3 minutes. I'm going to plot patient 5, 3 minutes. And then 11. And then 5. And then 7. And then 9. And 9. Okay? So can you see what I've done there? I've taken these 10 patients and I plotted them. Can you see that? So we can actually join them if we want to. Not visible. Can you see that? Can you focus on that, please? Can you see that? Okay.
Some can't see. It seems like someone has a problem with it. It's not our side.
Yes, we can see, Prof.
Okay. So all I did is I took these 10 patients, that's their waiting time, and I put the time here and I plotted this graph. I plotted the time. And the 8.3 is the average. So this is the average. That line is the mean. Can you see?
Yes, Prof.
Now, when it comes to reliability, when it comes to efficiency, when it comes to quality management, all of these things, we do not use mean, because the mean, the average, does not give us any usable information. We can't use an average to improve performance. So if you give me an average wait time of 8.3 minutes, it really doesn't help me. Because 8.3 minutes to me, it sounds okay. It means that we're doing a good job, isn't it? But then when you plot the individual numbers, what can you see here? What can you see? Although the average is 8, you can see a lot of variation, isn't it? You can see a lot of inconsistency in the way we do things. Now, this information gives us as managers far more information and data than this. So using a mean and an average means nothing. You cannot act if you just see this line. And when you see this, you can actually act. So what was the standard deviation that we got? What was the standard deviation that we got? 3.37. Okay? So the mean is 8.3, 3.37 is the standard deviation. So standard deviation is always plus minus. It's 8.3 plus 3.37, 8.3 minus 3.37. Okay, you get that? That's always how a standard deviation works. It's both sides. So there's your average. And then the first one is plus 3.37. That's going to take us here. That's plus 3.37. And then minus is going to take us here. Can you see that? So that's your mean. That's one standard deviation. That's another standard deviation. Can you see this? So all the numbers here in between are within two standard deviations of the mean. And then we do the same. So we'll go up 11, 14. That's another one there. We take off 3 here. We get another one here. Okay? So you can see now this is 2 standard deviations. This is 4 standard deviations. Okay? Because the mean is 8.3. One standard deviation is 3.37. So it's plus 3.37 minus 3.37. 2 standard deviations is another 3.37 at the top, another 3.37 at the bottom, and then another one right at the top and right at the bottom will be 6 standard deviations. Okay? So that's how we arrive at the standard deviations. And what I said, 10 to the minus 6 is approximately 6 sigma, 6 standard deviations. So 10 to the minus 6 means that all our numbers should fall in between here. That's what will be classified as a high reliability organization. Okay? So it's within those 6 standard deviations. That's what you want to be. Anything above that, above and below, meaning it's a defect. It's a special cause variation. There's something wrong that we need to address. Okay? Can I clarify this with you? It's a kind of important conceptual first exposure to kind of quantitative methodology. So remember what we did, we measured. So we measured waiting times. We took 10 patients, we measured waiting times. You can measure whatever you want to measure. We'll talk more about that tomorrow. Okay, whatever you want to measure, measure. That's going to give you these numbers. We're going to calculate the mean and the standard deviation. We're then going to plot those numbers in a graph. Okay, this is a control chart. Control chart is giving us the real-time data that actually we can visualize and we can see if there's any issues. And then we plot those numbers against the mean and the standard deviations. Okay, 1 standard deviation above, 1 below. 2 above, 2 below, 3 above, 3 below. 6 standard deviations. Being within 6 standard deviations is where we want to be. Okay? Anything above that means that we're operating outside of being reliable. Okay? Can I clarify any of that for you? Can I clarify any of this for you? Do I need to? Sorry?
The plotting of the numbers on the control chart, how do you get to
These numbers? You mean these numbers? These numbers are the real numbers. 10, 15, 6, 8, 3. These are the actual wait times that I plotted. Okay? Now you can see, although the mean is 8.3, when you look at, there's a lot of variation in there. But despite that variation, we're still operating within 6 sigmas. Okay? Meaning that we're still pretty reliable. But within that reliability, there's a variation, which we need to understand why. What happened here that this client was seen in 15 minutes, whereas this one was seen in 3? Okay, is this 3 minute means that the form's incompleted? Is this 15 means that, well, the person who does it took a break and a new person came in and they didn't know the process? You see, so this is what this data, if you just have a mean, you can't act on a mean. You can act on a control chart with real data there where you try and understand the trends, the patterns, etc. Most importantly, what you're trying to do is trying to say, well, do all these data points fall within 6 sigmas? Because remember, 6 sigmas is 1 in a million. The defect rate is 1 in a million. Okay? And we are within that. Here, in this case. Any questions? We'll come back to that. We'll come back. It's a very important concept. In fact, if you take this whole graph and you turn it around, what you'll actually get is the bell curve, the Gaussian curve. That's what you get. Okay? So if I take this graph, and I flip it, you'll get that Gaussian distribution. Okay? 1 sigma, 2, 3. Okay? And you want to operate here, under the curve. Okay? But it's the same thing. There's the mean. That's 1 standard deviation, 2 standard deviations, 3 standard deviations. This is 6 standard deviations total. It's exactly the same thing. Have you heard the term Gaussian distribution bell curve? Have you heard that before? Have you heard what a bell curve is or a Gaussian distribution? Well, kind of read about that. It's called the bell curve, Gaussian distribution. It's generally how data are distributed, with 66% of data generally will fall within 2 standard deviations. 95% of data falls within 4 standard deviations, and 99.9% of data falls within 6 standard deviations. Okay, so, and what you get left at the ends, that's the actual that's the defects, and that's the special cause variation that you don't want. Okay, so it comes with practice. We'll go over it over and over again, but this is kind of, just by collecting data, by graphing them, you can already get a sense of your levels of reliability and what's happening. Okay? Any questions? If I've confused any of you, just don't feel shy to ask. Don't feel shy to ask. So what you can do is actually maybe, if you want to over lunch break, just take another scenario with, well, how many times were clients were verbally greeted within 5 minutes? Assume you've got 20 clients and put down the times that it took. Okay? Work out the standard deviation and the mean. Plot it the way I plotted it. Okay, draw these lines and then add those standard deviation points to it and have a look at so you're actually visualizing the data. And when you visualize the data, you can make sense of it. If I had all of this in a table with the mean and standard deviation, it doesn't mean a thing. And most reports you read, you find tables of data with the mean and standard deviation. That doesn't say anything to me. I can't intervene based on a table. I can intervene here. Here I know exactly something happened here, something happened here. I can identify who the person is, what the process was, and get down to actually improving it. Okay? Because this is the sign that we are moving towards passing that 6 standard deviation. Okay? And getting into that error space that we don't want to be. Same on this one. This means that we're getting ready to shoot that mark. And high reliability organizations, as you learn, they anticipate problems. And the only reason they anticipate is because they collect real-time data. Okay? They know when things are going to go wrong, when a defect is imminent. This data is already showing us that a defect is imminent, because we have that's almost shooting past the 6 sigma line. We have that's almost shooting past the 6 sigma line at the bottom. Okay? You're not going to get this in a table. Okay? Any questions? So give it a shot. The best way is to try it. Okay? So I'll give you, what's the time now, Vic?
11:47.
Yeah, it's 11:47. I'll give you an hour. We'll come back at 12:47. Take your lunch break. Create a data set with about 20. Choose whatever you want. And then plot this for me. And when you come back, I'll ask some of you just to share your screens. And essentially, you're going to show me something like this. Okay? So I'm asking you to fabricate stuff. Synthesize the case. Synthesize the data. Calculate the mean. Calculate the standard deviation. And then plot this graph the way this is. We leave this on. And give it a shot. This is only one way you're going to get this right and get used to doing it, is to actually start doing it. Okay? Understanding the quantitative aspect of reliability is extremely important. I mean, as I said, it is a quantitative space. Management, by definition, is a quantitative space. So we need to kind of understand that. And don't be afraid if you get it wrong. Don't be afraid to ask questions. I can tell you, coming from a world of being a physician and getting into this space was not easy. It took a lot of time, took a lot of practice, but that's the way you get it right. Okay? It will become second nature to you. This cut here, Vic, so I'm not sure whether it's cut here. So, okay. You guys I'll give you an hour to do both things, to actually create your data set, create your simulated graphs. We'll come back and discuss it, and then take your lunch break as well. There's enough time to do all of that. We can come back at, let's make it in an hour's time. That would be 10 to 1, I think. Yeah, around about 10 to 1. Okay, do you have any questions about what you have to do? Apart from having your lunch break, create your little data set, mean, standard deviation. You know how to do that. Vic has posted the link. Create this little graphic. And it would be great if you can share it with us. If you're using a screen, which you can draw, good. If not, just draw it on a piece of paper and hold it up to your camera. Okay? Good. See you guys in about an hour. Take care.
Thank you.
Okay.